Okay, so we've turned off our. I'm just going to delete it. I've turned off the sort of the movement for the circle. We're going to have to also make the circle move up and down, right? So right now my circle is always at this particular height. So I'm going to have to make a new variable for that, right? A y variable. But remember, you can't just like type in y. You have to declare the variable first. So just like we declared an x up here, we'll also declare a y. If you have two variables or more of the same type, you can just put a comma and just kind of list your ints across here. So I'll just put in x, comma, y. You could do it on separate lines too if you really wanted to. Int y, that would work as well. So your choice. And I think I'll start y at whatever. I guess I'll put in 200. I feel bad though. Like Nathan, you were so on fire with that height divided by 2. I mean, can't not put that in. That's really nice. And let's see what else. So that's a good start, right? That means we have a circle that is ready to change its vertical and horizontal position. Right now, not really doing any of those things. So what I'd like to do is hook up the keyboard to processing so that it can read in key inputs and then make the x and y variables change depending on what keys were pressed. Okay, so let's do it. I'm going to put this in a new tab. So you don't have to put it in a new tab. You could keep typing, but we tend to find that's annoying. Many of us did the Sketchpad project last year. Remember that one where you made the drawing program? And it was 400 lines of code, and it was going longer and longer, some of you even more. And it just got really frustrating to scroll and scroll and scroll. So what we found out is that we can make tabs to kind of put code into different categories, so to speak. So we will make a new tab. This one could be just for the keyboard. Sometimes we put all the mouse and keyboard stuff into one tab, just to kind of put it somewhere we can find it. So I'll make this called keyboard, and I'll zoom out to show you. We got a new tab in here, just so you know it's not a new program. This is all still part of the same program. So this and this are also connected together. So what you need to unlock the sort of keyboard reading stuff is two new built-in functions. Void key pressed and void key released. Note the capital letter in the middle, the capital P and the capital R. I've had students work for hours and struggle and not understand why their keys won't work. And it was because they put in a lowercase p or a lowercase r. So watch out. It is spelled exactly as you see it on the screen. And if you don't put it in, watch what happens. It's just black. So if yours doesn't turn green, then that's probably what's going on. Yeah, thanks.
I just wanted to say one time I was debugging.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the problem was that I spelled color with a U.
Oh, classic Canadian programmer problem right there. Yeah, American spelling for everything, everybody. Oh, it's so hard, so hard. Yeah, we've all been there. So, I guess that's something to watch out for. So, guess what? These are built-in functions that we are defining. They're sort of hollow. They don't have any code inside of them, but processing does control when they get called. And they get called when you interact with the keyboard. I bet you can guess this already, but when you press a key, the key pressed function fires off. And when you release a key, the key released function fires off. So what we can do is we can control some switches, some Boolean variables, to turn them on and off, or true or false, as we press and release keys. So that's going to be basically how we're going to make things move around. So we're going to have to go make some Boolean functions here, Boolean variables, I should say. So Boolean variables are variables that are true or false. Boolean. And that word is just named after a guy named George Boole. George Boole invented all of the math for doing human logic with binary numbers in the 1600s. Before there were even computers. And all of the math we use to represent human logic for making decisions or artificial intelligence all began there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have computers without that achievement. So George Boole, way ahead of his time, doing some great things. He's got the Boolean variable named after him. So we'll make a Boolean variable for each key. So do we want to do the arrow keys or WASD? All right, that's what all the gamers always want to use, WASD. Sure, that's fine. It is a little bit different with arrow keys, just so you know, because you can't type in an arrow. Like if you press arrow, it doesn't type a character, right? It moves the cursor around. So it's a little bit different, but let's not worry about that today. We'll just get some WASD stuff going on. So I'll make a variable for each key. So I'll make a W key, A key, S key, and D key. And again, these variables will turn true or false depending on when we press the keys. It's not quite set up yet. And once we do that, we can ask and see, hey, are we pressing the W key by checking to see if these values are true or false. So next step is I'm going to go back to the keyboard tab and go into my key pressed functions. And I'm going to go and find out if I'm pressing the W key. So remember how we talked about sort of built-in variables like width and height? There's another one called key. And it just returns whatever key is either being pressed or released, depending on where we put that. The last key to be interacted with by the human. And you might think, well, what if I press 2 keys at once? It's got you. It'll actually be able to handle that because you are slow. As a human being, you are so very slow compared to the computer. So it's going to be able to tell if you're pressing 2 keys or more. Actually, the keyboard is actually the limiting factor. On your keyboards, it'll probably only be able to register like 2 key presses, maybe 3. But on like a gaming keyboard, then you'll actually be able to register many, many key presses at the same time. So it's not really processing, it's more your keyboard that's the limiting factor. So what we can do is just kind of turn, in the key pressed function, we'll turn on those variables. Key released, we'll turn off those variables. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to check to see if key was pressed, then we'll check to see if the key was the W key. The only thing is, though, that it might be the capital W key as well. So we can say, hey, if key was W, or, this is OR in Java and processing, 2 vertical lines. The key is right above the Enter key, and unfortunately, it looks like 2 lines on your keyboard, but it's right there with the backslash key. It's right above Enter. So you press Shift and you press that, you'll get a vertical line. And that stands for OR. So if you press the W key or capital W, that way like caps lock doesn't matter. Then I'm going to set W key to be true. So see how that works? So if I press W key, either capital or lowercase, then we set W key to true. And we're going to do that for each of our keys. So I'm literally going to copy and paste, but be careful, because I've seen lots of mistakes where people just screw up the copying and pasting. I'm going to do the same thing for A key. So I'll change this to an A, and this to a capital A, and the variable to A key. And you can just do that for all 3 of those things. So, or all 4. So A, S, capital S, S, and then D as well. Yeah. Yeah, good question. I did mess that up. So the difference is, by the way, a double equal sign is asking a question. Are these 2 things equal? And it will either be true or false. And a single equal sign is for assigning a value. So you're saying, I'm making key W if I only have 1. So absolutely, these should be double equal signs. Thanks, Nathan. So that's going to be my key pressed. When I press the key, I make the variables true. And I'm going to just copy and paste the whole thing into key released. The only difference is going to be that in key released, we make those variables false. The exact same stuff, except true turns to false. And if your keyboard stuff doesn't work or is a little bit weird, it's probably because you messed up the copying and pasting. It's a good chance. So otherwise, exactly the same, but it's going to be setting them to false. So now we have a system where we have these key variables that are acting like switches that turn on and off while the program is running. That's being sort of orchestrated by processing in the background. And now we can ask, like, hey, is the W key being pressed by checking if this variable is true or false? So are you guys ready to move on, or should I wait just a second? Maybe I'll wait a second just for you to type this out. And then we'll go and see how to use this. This is sort of the setup of it, but there's a little bit more to do. And we'll drink some coffee while I wait. while I'm waiting, I got a delicious Tim Hortons donut waiting for me. What's the best Tim Hortons donut? What's your favorite donut? Okay, it doesn't have to be Tim Hortons. What is it? Tell me. I need to know this information. Do you guys not eat donuts? Timbits? My children when we used to go to Tim Hortons before the pandemic happened. My children would love the Timbits for sure. My one son would always get apple fritter, and the other one would get the honey dip. And oh man, they were just like, it was like their identity. What else? What else we got? Sprinkles! Sprinkles, yeah. Miss Schneider loves the sprinkles too. Yeah, for sure. Crunchy. See, I was actually like kind of like a little bit hating on the sprinkles. I was like disrespecting it. And now I'm like rethinking everything. I'm like, no, I think I'm wrong. I gotta go and like try the sprinkles. Anything else? Come on, give me another option here. Gonna make a test now. What is your favorite donut? Worth 1 mark. All right. Okay. Whatever. We'll move on. I'm gonna just tell you right now. Boston cream. That one is my go-to donut. So good. Oh, delicious. So yummy. Anyways, we'll get back to that later on. I think you're all done now typing this out. So let's go use these variables. So in my draw function, that's where I want to use the variables. You don't want to use it in setup, because that code happens and then it's done. So you're not really going to get to use it while the program's running. Anything that you want to have happen while the program is running is going to be happening in draw, or some function that's being called by draw. So we can just ask questions like, hey, if the W key is being pressed, let's do a thing. So I can say I can spell. If W key. You actually don't have to say if it equals true, because it's a Boolean variable, right? It either is true or is false. You can just say if W key. If it's true, then this code will run. If it's false, it won't run. And I normally would put in the braces for an if statement, but right now I'm not going to, because it's so clean to put it all in one line. So I'm going to say if W key is pressed, I want to move up. So if I'm moving up, I need to say y equals y, and is it plus or minus to move up? It's minus, yeah, because it's the upside down y-axis. So I'll move up by 5. How do I move down? Well, that would be the S key. Y equals y plus 5. That's moving us down. How about left and right? So that's going to be A key for right. How's X going to change? Do I add or subtract to move to the right? To move to the right? Yes, you're correct, but I got the wrong key. So I should put in D key. Yeah, so it's going to be add 5. You got it. Thanks, Kira. And what about moving to the left? I guess that's just the other one. So subtract. So these variables are kind of functioning like switches that I can turn on and off and then control the movement of my circle. So I'm going to give that a run and see what happens. Yeah, it's working. Woo, I can move it around. Okay, so now it's your time to shine. I'm going to be quiet for a while, and I'm going to let you try to figure out how do you make it wrap around to the other side of the screen. Like if I move up, how do I get it to suddenly, like instead of just continue going up, how do I get it when it goes off the top of the screen to wrap back around to the bottom of the screen? Also, if I go left or right, how do I get that to like flip around as well? So I'm going to stop this video, and I'm going to let you do that, and I'll start the video again afterwards to record the answer for that.